wanted to start with the Penguin today. I was finishing up the finale. I also today got a chance to interview Renzi Felice, who plays Victor in the Penguin series on HBO Max or HBO and Max. Season finale was yesterday. And there's a scene I'm gonna try not to do any spoilers, but it's a DC Batman Penguin story, but it's really a family story. It's a story of organized crime. Think The Sopranos meets the underworld of Gotham. And that's the story. But I was talking with Renzi today because about episode 4 or 5, I switched allegiances. Initially, you see the Penguin, and Colin Farrell should win all of the awards, by the way. He's amazing. He's so amazing that you can't even see Colin Farrell in this character of Oswald. I can't remember his name. Oz. They call him Oz. What's his last name, Smiz? Oswald. I don't know. Anyway, you can't even see him, right? He just looks so much like this character. Oswald Cobb is his name. And you see him with the limp. He's got something wrong with his legs. His face is all mangled and twisted. Some things have happened to him. He's disfigured. He is just this larger than life, very charismatic figure who, he does some things and you're like rocking with him because, you can relate to the underdog. That he's been, shunned and put aside and teased when he was a child. That kid with those infirmities, he was fat, he was all, that he went through some things to get to where he is, and you're rooting for him. Episodes 1 through 3 through 4, right? And you see Sophia, who is the daughter of the mob boss, who has been in Arkham, which is this mental institute, for 10 years because she was accused of killing all of these women, and she's like this animal. And so immediately you pick sides. Sophia's bad. We don't like her. And Oz is great. We're rooting for him. And we know he's killed people. He's done some things. But we also so would I in that situation. He's just trying to, he's a man for the underdog. And then something happens and you get more information. You get more information and then you realize Oswald is not a good person. He's not good at all. There's no redeemable qualities. Once you really, he's got a great tenderness with his mom and he's got a great tenderness with Victor. But even those are means to an end. He's a sociopath. And once you realize that, for me, I'm Team Sophia. I can no longer, if I'm picking sides, I'm on her side because now I know more. I have a fuller story. And so I'm talking to Renzi today and I said, you're the one character on there that is, even though you've done some things too, but it's at the behest of Oz, you got a purity to you. How do we reconcile as a viewer of this series, once we realize who Oz is, how do we still, I feel like people still rocking with him. And he said, and he smiled because, people are still rooting for him. He's charming, he's charismatic, he's bigger than life. But we come into the story through his lens. The story is told through his lens. So we are in it. We've chosen sides, and it's very hard for human beings to switch once they have pledged their allegiance. So I want to ask today, because it wasn't hard for me, and I don't think that I'm unique. Maybe I am. I can't even, because I'm me. I don't know anybody else but me in terms of, how people's brains are wired. But once I, got a fuller story, because they go into the backstories of everybody, I'm like, oh, this is easy. He's horrible. She's complicated. I'm so rooting for her to win. And wow. So I'm asking this question of myself and of all of you, when did we start rooting for the bad guy? Is it as far back as Cowboys and Indians? John Wayne, as little kids, we watched those Westerns and we were always rooting for the Cowboys, even though they were the genociders. They were the ones, they were even the Buffalo Cowboys, even the Buffalo Soldiers, the original Cowboys. We have been conditioned to root for them, right? For not only were they formerly enslaved, they were, black. They were black. And we like, yeah, Buffalo Soldiers, but they literally were clearing the land of indigenous people. Watching the story of Bass Reeves, that Taylor Sheridan or whatever, the guy that does Yellowstone and all that, Lioness. That was complicated, that opening scene, when I was confused, because I'm like, is Bass Reeves on the side of the Confederacy? Wait a minute. Hold up. Can I root for this man? He's fighting for slavery. How does that work? We have people today, though, fighting for slavery. How does that work? Some of y'all's favorites, behind closed doors, fighting for slavery. How does that work? Both sides. How does that work? How does that work? And when did we, or was it always this way? Have we always rooted for the bad guy? So I was just thinking, I'm grateful that I'm pretty absolute that when new information is introduced, I will examine it and change my mind based on new information. I would never have been a person that would just sit and fold my arms and say the world is flat, the earth is flat. You got new information? Okay. And I'm also wondering, because there were a lot of people that stood on the earth was flat. So when did the turn happen, and how long we got to wait? Because I feel like we're in an earth is flat period of time. It's almost like history keeps rhyming and rhyming and rhyming. We're back to the dark ages where there's new information and people are folding their arms and like, nope, I'm not trying to do that. No new information. Don't bring me no new information. I'm not trying to even digest it. I don't care. I'm rooting for this side. I don't care about, you can bring me all the information you want. I don't care. This is who I'm rocking with. How do we change that? 866-801-8255. I'm listening to The Barn, as I was mentioning, and he was talking about these gangsters. And I think it was John Dillinger, one of those, Pretty Boy Floyd. I forget who it was, but he was like a Klansman. And I was like, we have glorified Bonnie and Clyde and all of these gangsters. Tony Soprano is a hero. A lot of y'all were rocking with Tony Soprano. Not a good person. Not a good person, even if he has good moments. Scarface. Whole rap eras birthed on gangster behavior. Scarface and all of this. You got rappers naming themselves after criminals who have terrorized communities because somehow you align yourself with the terrorists because it's a come-up story. Or even if it's not a come-up story. Gordon Gekko told us greed was good in 1987. And some of y'all were like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Greed is good. F everybody. Griselda. Yes, I want her to win. Tony Soprano. American Gangster. Admittedly, I was rooting for Denzel. I ain't gonna lie. I want Denzel because I don't know Frank, but I know Denzel. I was rooting for to this day, Russell Crowe can eat crow. How dare he? It's just like, no, because of that one movie, Hoodlum. Come on, Cicely Tyson and Lawrence Fishburne. Yes, we're rooting for them. We're rooting for the underdog, but also maybe not the good guy. And then what does it mean to be good in a world such as this? I know some people are grappling with it. What does it mean? I saw somebody say, well, shoot, if the pussy grabbing felon could be in office, I'm putting R. Kelly back in rotation. I said, wait a minute. I understand. But wait a minute. Is that where we are right now? And just because other people, I'm not speaking to nobody white. Okay, well, there's a lot of white people voted for Kamala Harris. Physically, numbers-wise, more white people voted for Kamala Harris than black people. Numbers-wise, just straight pure numbers, right? If we're just doing pure numbers. So that means roughly maybe, 4 in 10 white folk that you see on the streets are safe. But how do we know? Oh, they're wearing blue bracelets. So they got to wear blue bracelets for us to go, okay, I was walking today and I was like, do I speak? Because I'm somebody that speaks to people. I say hello. And what if they don't say hello back? I'm going through this in my mind like, oh, my goodness. Or if they smile, and the smile doesn't mean anything, right? So we're navigating human beings and I'm prejudging people based on what they look like because, that's what we do. But it's not right. And I know it's not right. So there's a lot that we're grappling with. And those of you raising children, God bless you. I don't know what you tell them. Nothing makes any damn sense. This is a crazy mixed up world that we're in, but I feel like the responsibility to make it right is on all of us, which means it has to be a kind of pristine line in the sand that we draw for ourselves. This is not in juxtaposition to anybody else. This is not about anybody else. This is not about whether somebody else is doing it to us, so we got to do it back. No, no, no. What is right and what is wrong? And once we make a firm understanding and decision about right and wrong, and especially y'all so-called Christians, and I'm going to say that because you think you're a Christian, but I don't know what Bible you're reading. Ain't nothing that you doing is lining up with the word of Jesus. Really not. So there's all of these conflicts going on inside ourselves, but I feel like at least we should be open to new information and, shifting our views based on new facts. And if we can't do that, then this thing is gone. It's lost forever. So the question on the table is like, Malcolm says, who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to root for the bad guy? And then what do we do about it? And why do you still do it when you know it's wrong?
My days are cooler, nights are warmer, and I put the blame on you. Time moves slow, but my heart beats faster. When these eyes are looking right at you, right at you. You give me something to believe in, just what I needed. You're the closest.